So we'll start with this. So we'll be covering the colorectal polyposis syndromes, colon cancer per se, rectal cancer, and the new modalities of treatment of neoadjuvant and adjuvant treatment in rectal cancer, and postoperative complications. Okay, we'll just touch upon the surgeries. Fine. Okay. So, so what is the etiopathogenesis of colorectal cancer? So, basically, there are germline mutations, there are somatic mutations, and there are polymorphisms. So, the most common germline mutations that we know of is the APC mutation and the MMR gene. Okay, the mismatch repair genes. DNA mismatch repair genes. So the mutation in APC gene will cause FAP, that is familial adenomatous polyposis, and the defective MMR genes will give rise to the HNPCC, that is hereditary non-polyposis coli, okay, colonic cancer, and that is when it is associated with the other non-colorectal cancers, it is called as the Lynch syndrome, okay. So there are other genes, proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes, and even MMR genes which can cause sporadic cancers also. Okay. So what is the risk? What is the familial risk in colon cancers? If there is one first degree relative who is affected with colon cancer, there is a 2 to 3 fold increased risk. Okay. And the more number of first degree relatives, the higher the chances of colon cancer, higher the risk, lifetime risk of colon cancer. So in general, there is a 6% risk. But if there is one first degree involved, 6 into 3 folds, that is 18% risk. If two first degree people are involved, okay, relatives are involved, that is 6 into 4, okay, that is 24% risk. Like that, it goes on increasing, but you have to see that it should be the first degree relative. Okay, if it is a second or third degree relative, the increased risk is not that high. Okay, it is just 1.5 folds increased. All right. So who are the first degree relatives, and who are the second degree relatives, and who are the third degree relatives? I hope you know that, but just to reiterate, can somebody tell me? Hello.
First degree would be parents or
Hmm.
siblings.
Parents, siblings, and
Second
children.
degree would children.
Okay. Second degree is
Second degree grandparents, mostly the mom side or
grandparents
dad side.
and
Parents
aunt and uncles. Okay. Whereas
and
third degree
uncle.
relatives is great grandparents and cousins. Okay. So in the MCQ, they might just twist and turn and ask you that one cousin is having this thing. So it becomes a third degree relative. Okay. So if only one cousin was affected as the index case, the risk is increased only 1.5 folds. Okay. Fine. So, in the pathogenesis of all these colorectal cancers, we have three main pathways. One is the chromosomal instability, one is the methylation, promoter methylation, and one is the microsatellite instability. Okay. So, the chromosomal instability model is given by Vogelstein. Okay. So, this is the colorectal carcinogenesis model that we have. That is the Vogelstein-Fieron model, which was given by Vogelstein in 1990. Okay, it is also called as a Vogelgram. So basically, whatever this molecular alterations you have in various other cancers like pancreatic cancer or breast cancer, so whatever the pathway of molecular alterations are there, like we saw the Korean cycle in the gastric cancer also, so that is also called as a Vogelgram. Okay, so you have the normal colonic epithelium, which when affected by this APC mutation will give rise to dysplasia. Okay, and that dysplasia due to accumulating another mutations will give rise to early adenoma over a period of around 5 to 10 years, and then as and when they keep on accumulating the activating mutations or deleting inactivating mutations of the tumor suppressor genes, okay, they progress in this pathway from early adenoma to intermediate adenoma, which is enhanced by KRAS mutation, and from intermediate adenoma to late adenoma, which is enhanced by this DCC4 gene, and from late adenoma to carcinoma. So basically, any adenoma to carcinoma transition is by P53 mutation. Okay, and some other mutations like in the regulation pathway, like TGF beta mutations or SMAD mutations, will give rise to metastasis. Okay, so basically in FAP, this tumor initiation from the dysplasia to early adenoma formation is basically accelerated. Okay, whereas in HNPCC, the adenomas will be present for a long period of time, and only later on, after 5 to 10 years, they start the tumor progression starts from the adenoma to carcinoma sequence. Okay, so that will be very fast. It takes only 1 to 3 years. So what is the benefit? What is the importance or the clinical significance of this? We will come to it in HNPCC. Okay, so FAP has nearly 100% penetrance. Okay, all your FAP patients, almost all of your FAP patients, will develop colorectal cancer. Okay, but only 80%, only up to 80%, 70 to 80% patients of HNPCC gene who are having this germline mutation in the mismatch repair gene will develop colorectal cancer. Okay, the rest of the 20% will not be affected. So that is the penetrance of this gene. Okay, so you have this various pathways, as I told you. One was the chromosomal instability that we just saw. Okay, and second one is the WNT signaling model. Okay, so basically in this WNT signaling model, you have this transmembrane 7 transmembrane receptor here. Okay, and WNT is a ligand basically for wingless gene. It stands for wingless gene in the flies. Okay, so basically in this when this gene is off, okay, this ligand is there is no ligand on this receptor. The beta catenin is adherent to this APC, and this APC will prevent the beta catenin from undergoing further downstream regulation. Okay, so basically it phosphorylates and then it goes for the cellular proliferation cycle. But the that happens only when the beta catenin is released free, and this will happen only when there is a ligand on this receptor. Okay, so when this WNT is on and the ligand comes and attaches to this receptor, the beta catenin is set free. Okay, it is set free and then it acts on the nucleus to promote cellular proliferation. Okay, so this is when your APC is mutated and it cannot bind to the beta catenin, and this is how your cells will keep on proliferating indefinitely. Okay, so basically in the chromosomal instability pathway, you have the inactivation of this WNT signaling pathway. Okay, there is a biallelic inactivation of this APC gene. That's why the median age for the first adenoma formation is around 16 years, and the cancer will develop at a very early and there is a younger age of onset. Okay, around 35 to 40 years. Okay, so because of the increased concentration of the beta catenin, there is increased growth regulation, cellular proliferation, and increased cellular adhesions. Okay, intercellular adhesion, and this is due to the stabilizing mutation of the APC gene. Okay, so basically this pathway will result in the adenomas, and later on it will progress to from adenoma to carcinoma sequence will be further proliferated. Okay, so loss of P53, as I told you, is the most common event which causes the adenoma to carcinoma transition, and FAP usually has the germline mutations in the APC gene. Okay, so there is another pathway in this carcinogenesis, colorectal carcinogenesis, called as the SIMP pathway or the CPG island methylator phenotype. Okay, so what happens in this SIMP pathway? So we were done with this and adhere to this mismatch repair, mismatch gene base pair, and then it will start repairing along the strand. Okay. As soon as they start repairing along the strand, they need this ATP. Okay. For that, again, this complex MUTL alpha complex will come and again bind to the strand. Okay. So basically, there are two complexes formed by these four genes, and then there is another. As soon as they recognize these mismatch of the base pairs, okay, if there is a long suppose if this was only a single base pair, but if there are multiple base pairs or insertions or deletions, then then all the other genes like MSH3 or MLH2, all these will also accumulate and do the needful, right? So basically, this MSI can be a consequence of either the chromosomal instability pathway or the promoter hypermethylation pathway. So during the DNA replication, basically, the DNA polymerases are prone to errors while copying the exact number of nucleotides at the repetitive sequences called as microsatellites. So basically, 2 to 6 repetitive sequences of nucleotides are called as microsatellites. Okay. So what does this MMR system do? These will identify the copying errors and remove the faulty sequences. Okay. So what happens if this is absent? Okay, there is definitely going to be a 100% increase in the errors. Okay, and that is what occurs in Lynch syndrome. So around 3% of colorectal cancers occur in Lynch syndrome, which have this microsatellite instability. Okay, so although 12% they begin as a promoter hypermethylation, but then the other genetic alterations ensue, and then microsatellite instability overrides the promoter methylation pathway. Okay, so most colorectal cancers with the microsatellite instability are not Lynch syndrome. Okay, but they are rather a consequence of the promoter methylation. So basically, most of the sporadic cancers will have this MLH1 promoter methylation, and that will get silenced. Okay, so when you do your IHC, you will see that this protein is lost. Okay, this MLH1 protein is lost, but that cannot be taken as a proof that this is a patient of Lynch syndrome. Okay, you have to confirm it with the genetic testing. So basically, in as I told you, these are the 4 genes that you will identify. Okay, the MLH1, the MSH2, MSH6, and PMS2. You have to remember these 4 names. Okay, these 4 genes you have to remember. So the most common cause of this high instability, microsatellite instability, is actually sporadic. Okay, because Lynch syndrome is not very common. Okay, only 3% of this colorectal cancers are Lynch syndrome. Most of the other tumors are all sporadic cancers. Okay, so basically
No audio, ma'am.
No audio.
No audio.
Guys, just wait for a while.
Sorry, where was I? Where did I become inaudible? So we had come to right?
Next.
Okay.
MSI
We were done with the
instability.
fab mutage, right?
MSI instability.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. MSI. We did not do the syndromes at all.
No, ma'am, no.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Previous
No,
slide.
ma'am.
Previous.
Okay, this is done.
No, ma'am.
No, no, ma'am. The previous one.
This is also not. Oh shit. This one. This is done, or this is also not done.
Ma'am, it's still showing the same slide. ma'am.
Hanged. Not done. Yeah, we're in the slide.
In this slide. So I had done.
Yeah.
I had finished this slide, or
Discussing this slide.
just one second. Okay. So we were done with the slide, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Next slide.
Okay. Okay. So basically, as I told you, this we need to see all these 4 genes. Okay, all the 4 proteins that is lost: MLH1, MSH2, MSH6, and PMS2. This is very important to remember. Okay. So you should remember the numbers and the M, L, and S of these genes. Okay, it is very important and it is very confusing also. So you should remember this. So the most common cause of the instability, high microsatellite instability, is basically sporadic. Okay, because mainly in more than 50 to 60% of the cases, it is due to the promoter hypermethylation of MLH1. Okay, it is not due to familial loss of the expression of MLH1. Okay, because only 3% of CRCs are accounted by Lynch syndrome. The other all cancers, all the other colorectal cancers, okay, most of the sporadic cancers will have this MLH1 loss, but it is basically due to the SIMP pathway. Okay, fine. Okay. So, what are the other hereditary syndromes that we know of other than the FAP and Lynch? There is this FAP, there is the attenuated FAP, which has less than 100 number of polyps. And in FAP, there is a variety of severe or profuse polyposis, which is more than 1,000 polyps. Okay. So, only the mild variety will have 100 to 1,000 polyps, the attenuated less than 100, and the profuse will have more than 1,000 polyps. Okay, and there are the subvariants of this FAP is the mutage and the NTHL1 associated polyposis. The only thing to remember here is it is recessively inherited. Okay, it is an autosomal recessive inheritance for these 2 polyposis syndromes, whereas the FAP and other all hereditary polyposis syndromes are all autosomal dominant inheritance. Okay, only these 2 are recessively inherited. That is the only thing you need to remember as of now. Okay, in this chart is very important, but okay. So then what else do you have? You have the Lynch syndrome. So the diagnosis requires more than 10 polyposis. Okay, although the heading is hereditary non-polyposis coli, okay, but still you need more than 10 polyposis for the diagnosis of this Lynch syndrome per se. Okay, again these 4 genes have to be remembered, and there is another, this EpCAM gene. There is a cell adhesion molecule which can also be mutated in this Lynch syndrome. Okay, so if there's an MCQ saying this, all of the following are lost in Lynch syndrome, like EpCAM, MSH6, PMS5, MLH1. So that's why I'm telling you, you should remember the numbers and the letters of this genes also. Okay, and EpCAM is a very important gene which can also be lost in Lynch syndrome. Okay. So these are basically adenomatous polyposis, okay? And this is a variety of all hamartomatous polyposis, okay? So in that you have the P10 hamartoma tumor syndrome, which has another 2-3 varieties. Then you have the JPS, or the juvenile polyposis syndrome. Then you have the PJS, okay? We will go